Hi everyone, welcome back to The Vegan Atheist. This week I discuss SJWs, Social Justice Warriors, as you my fans have voted it up to the top of my online poll. In an effort to make this channel more interesting for you and me, I am broadening the scope of topics that I address. I will continue to produce atheist and vegan videos, but I'd like to share my perspectives on other things as well. As always, I'd love to hear what you think on the subject matter of the video, and if you like my channel and the content I produce, nothing helps me reach more people than likes, shares, and comments. Now with all that self-serving stuff out of the way, let's get started. I have missed quite a bit of drama on the internet over the year I stepped away from my YouTube channel, and since posting videos again, I have been inundated with allegations of being an SJW. So, let's clear some stuff right out of the gate. I am not a social justice warrior. An SJW, as I understand it, is a person who believes that a certain subset of society holds a privileged position, and due to that standing cannot A. understand those that are less privileged, and B. are not qualified to criticize. We ought to check our privilege and not voice our opinions. In other words, shut up. In order to better illustrate this, let's propose a real-world example. A poor black autistic transsexual woman does something terrible like murder a bunch of kittens for fun. Because I don't suffer from the same oppression she does, being poor, black, autistic, transsexual, and a woman, according to SJWs, it would be my job to shut up and listen to her because her subjective experiences are correct and override any objective arguments I might make. Any attempt to argue my case with her would be written off as victim blaming, mansplaining, or any other catchy piece of rhetoric. That being said, there is a valid argument to be had in meeting people where they are and trying to understand their circumstances. It's entirely possible I could be wrong about her situation, but the argument to demonstrate that is one of evidence and reason, not appeals to emotion or uncritical personal experiences. The problem I've seen with the SJW mindset is that the privilege card is thrown down when a person has no logical argument and is employing flawed reasoning and wants to end the conversation by claiming to be a victim of oppression. Social justice is a particularly problematic and closed-minded dogma, not unlike many religions. Its self-righteousness gives people who subscribe to it the justification to do whatever they want in support of it, like throwing intellectual honesty out of the window or even committing assault.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol.
My objection to the extremist social justice culture boils down to three major concerns. SJWs insinuate that being a victim confers moral authority, a higher social standing, and the transfer of wisdom. To that end, it appears that many people on American university campuses and on social media strive for victim status. It is a movement that subscribes to a massive fallacy of argument from authority. The notion that an oppressed person has inherently more insight on that oppression than any other person is patently false. Sometimes it's true, but often it is not. SJWs don't merely remind us to be sensitive to different kinds of social advantages and disadvantages. It's an all-encompassing dogma which has a built-in mechanism against criticism. If you question it, either you don't understand it and need to shut up and listen until you agree, or you are immediately labeled a bigot, sexist, homophobe, or racist. That's just unacceptable. It's a rush to condemnation in an attempt to dismiss the substance of one's arguments and monopolize the conversation. Anyone who is deemed to live a privileged position in society is a target. Again, one doesn't have to look very far in the SJW movement to see marginalized victims given permission to stereotype, demonize, shame, and silence people who oppose them. The hypocrisy is entirely lost on them. I do not believe that one's gender, sexual orientation, sex, ethnicity, religion, or age should generally be a factor in what jobs they can pursue, what educational opportunities they receive, how much money they ought to make, and how they are treated by police and the courts. I believe in freedom of speech protected by law for everyone, even for those who hold, in my opinion, horrible beliefs. Once we start down a road where we limit expression of opinion based on exclusivity within a subset of a particular minority, we risk policing ourselves into a world where free speech dies. Additionally, a culture that coddles or encourages perpetual victims is psychologically harmful. If you are dealing with serious emotional psychological issues, you ought to be meeting with a professional to work towards getting better. Your issues should not define your existence and identity, and the creation of safe spaces or trigger warnings are not long-term solutions. Exposure therapy isn't fun, and it's painful by nature. It's understandable that victims don't want to go the hard route to mental health, but they need to be encouraged to be brave and face the world and their issues and not hide from them. If we honestly care about our fellow human, we should be striving to implement systems that encourage corrective measures, not echo chambers that perpetuate victimhood. I am not suggesting that victims do not exist or that they have real grievances, but in my opinion, the social justice warrior movement, as it manifests online, takes society in an unhealthy direction. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button below. To ensure you don't miss out on future content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Want to have your say in what videos I produce? Have your desires known by voting in my online poll. Thanks for watching.